Fresh from a not-so-Super Bowl halftime show, it's the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. The Medicare podcast that works like a dog. Here's a man who doesn't sleep, he waits. It's Medicare expert Doug Jones.
Well, hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the Medicare for the Lazy Man, and I guess I'm the lazy man. I don't see anybody else around here that's willing to accept that appellation. I am Doug Jones, as you heard my Canadian nephew Drew McMillan say. I am your Medicare expert, or in some circles, I am known as a Medicare specialist, and I am here to help you feel really, really good about the impending process that many of you are facing of enrollment in Medicare. And let's face it, nobody ever likes change, and the government has forced people to change their health insurance coverage about when they turn 65, or maybe years after they turn 65, when they cease their gainful employment and leave their employer's health insurance plan and go out on their own. Medicare is what the government has in store for you. Well, people like me can help make sense of what seems to be a very confusing situation, and that's what I spend my career doing. You can understand and learn from my very, very easy book, Medicare for the Lazy Man, simplest and easiest guide ever. If you go to barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com, you'll find my book. If you search Medicare for the Lazy Man, be sure to look for the one that has 2022 in green numbers on the cover. That's the most current one. And you will be able to learn all about Medicare in a very short period of time. And hopefully, after having done that, you will gain confidence in my ability to help you cross the divide and enter the world of Medicare. And that's what I do for people. I help them get the additional ancillary coverages that they need to make Medicare work for them. So please buy the book, have a gander at it, maybe go to amazon.com and leave your review, especially if you like the book, and then drop me a line. My address is right in the book, and I will be happy to help you cross that line between Obamacare and Medicare, and you'll be very happy. You will sail off into the sunset without a care in the world when it comes to health insurance. And when it comes to having not a care in the world, I'd like to introduce my podcasting companion, Randy Carson. Randy, do you have any cares today at all that I should know about?
No, I do not. I'm just as bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I'm as happy as a clam. I don't know how else I could be possibly better. I just woke up with a really great attitude, and I felt like I had a good night's sleep last night, which for a variety of reasons that I won't go into gory detail, but I've got a new pup. So that might give everybody on the podcast a pretty good idea of what I'm up against.
I thought there was a sheep wandering around behind you there, but apparently it's not. It's white and fluffy and big.
That's exactly what it is. It's a standard poodle. Her name is Una. And for those of you who don't happen to understand Gaelic, that is Gaelic for lamb. So she is a big standard poodle that is white as a lamb, and she has got a really great personality, but she doesn't know the process of when to go and when we're expected to get up with her. So, we'll get there. She's been with us a couple weeks.
Well, here's the deal. First of all, when I hear the word lamb, my mouth starts watering because I love nothing better than mint sauce or mint jelly. In fact, if I ordered lamb at a restaurant, it would be just to get the mint, and I would throw away the meat. So that's the one thing I think of when I hear the word lamb. The other thing is when you say Gaelic, I know that you're talking about the old sod. You're talking about Ireland. And but don't the Scots also have, isn't their dialect also referred to as Gaelic? And could the same be
Yes.
said of the Welsh?
Yes, it's all part and parcel of the same thing. They're just different derivations. Uh, I mean, ultimately, they can all understand each other, but there's idiosyncrasies between each one that are a little bit different.
Well, they can all understand each other until you get to Willie, the janitor at the at the Simpson school. That guy's a little difficult to understand. But would it not be accurate to say that pretty much all the people in the British Isles, with the exception of the old tribes that were there, I want to say the Saxons and the Jutes and the Angles, wouldn't it be accurate to say that many of those people in the British Isles came from Norway? And they were, Norsemen that conquered.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was certainly one of the earlier invasions. So a lot of the red hair, a lot of the names, a lot of the place names, a lot of the people names, all that came from the Normans in terms of when they invaded the Irish Isles.
Well, the Normans invaded England in 1066, but the Norsemen, I think, invaded the British Isles a lot earlier than that.
That could be. I think I know that that's certainly part of the history of the English or the British Isles. I don't know exactly when they did all that and what the differentiation was, but bottom line is it left a lot of red hair.
Yeah, and that's the scary thing. Drew McMillan. Well, my sister Emily married a McMillan, a Canadian McMillan, and moved to Canada, and that's where she's raised her family. Her granddaughter, little Nora, who's about a year and a half old, has the red hair that's been passed down from the Vikings. Now, her father-in-law, Emily's father-in-law, Andy's father, is still with us. He's pushing 100 years old, and he wore his kilt to Drew's wedding when Drew got married a few years ago. He is proud of his Scots heritage, and I imagine the red hair might have come through his genetic pool, his gene pool. But boy, she's got red hair. We've all Joneses had blonde hair when they were born, but they add that McMillan characteristic in there, and you got some red hair. So she's a cutie pie, though, and she is.
Absolutely. I've seen pictures, a couple pictures of her, and boy, is she a little cutie patootie.
Okay, let us get down to business here because I've got a lot of chocolate milk soaked paperwork that I want to throw away. And if I can plow through some of that today and get rid of it, this office is going to smell a lot better because I have an idea that the longer it goes with chocolate milk imbued paper, the worse the ambient air is going to smell. But so let me start out with just going through things in the order that I have them stacked up here. You may recall a few episodes ago, my friend Clarence joined us. He was the first in-studio guest we ever had, and I pumped him about his love of Weimaraners. He's had up to 4 at a time. I think he only has 3 now, but this is one of the things that he's done with his retirement years is raise Weimaraners that had difficult lives before they came to him. I think they call that rescuing in the dog world. And he I'm happy to say, of my 9-year undergrad college career, I have one college friend. You'd think I would have more since I spent 9 years, but he's my only college friend. But we live up in Cave Creek, and he lived down in Gilbert. So it was like an hour and 15-minute drive, and we didn't see each other very often. So last summer, I guess, he decided to sell his house and move up to Cave Creek. And so that was like a snap decision. We were all out to dinner, and everybody at the table was just, their jaws dropped. Really? How long have you been thinking about this? Oh, I think yesterday I came up with the idea. So he instead of selling his house, because we had a flurry of real estate activity in Arizona, prices went sky high for a while. I think a whole bunch of Californians with big wads of cash came across the border into Arizona, and they drove up the real estate values for a period of time, for a few weeks. And so he just missed the high point of the market. But what he did that was kind of smart, instead of selling his house and hoping for a bidding war, he actually sold it outright to one of these "we'll buy your house" outfits, and And then he was able to make the move to his new house without a problem. And when he did, his neighbor in the old neighborhood was watching his house, and things happened. All of a sudden, the neighbor woke up, looked out one day, and there was water flowing out from under the garage door. And so he called the real estate outfit and said, "Hey, you got some water coming out." And they weren't in any particular hurry to fix it. I can imagine the swimming pool started looking like a swamp at some point, and they have had that house for months and months and months now. They've been lowering the price. So what was a $700,000 house when Clarence sold it to this outfit became about a $524,000 house. And the difference represents the financial loss that company took. And I read a newspaper article that said all over Arizona, these outfits bought up tons of houses thinking they would make big money. And they're in debt by billions, not millions, but billions of dollars. So I can see where that's going to be a problem. But the reason I bring up Clarence is because he suggested that I listen to a radio know-it-all, a consumer reporter kind of guy. And this guy has a very established and very busy website where people write in and they make comments, they ask questions, and so forth and so on. And on this website, our buddy Steve responded to a question that somebody asked about Medicare. Steve said, "Here, read this book. It will answer your questions." And the guy was kind of snotty. He answered Steve's suggestion in the forum on that website. It's Clark Howard, by the way. If you go to clarkhoward.com, I think that's the site. And so the exchange took place in the Medicare or health insurance area. And Steve said, "This book will probably help you a lot." And the guy was kind of snotty. He said, "Lazy man, I don't need the help of a lazy man. My wife has serious medical problems, and I need some really special professional help." And so Steve kind of let it drop. But then when I appeared like Steve suggested, I went on the forum. I signed up. I gave myself a nickname, and I said I would be happy to help. The guy recognized that I had written the book, and he put on a very, very nice synopsis of the book. He said he finally did buy the book. He read it, and he said it was fantastic, and he recommends it to other other users of that forum. And so I told Steve, "Hey, this is great. Thanks for getting me in good with this forum." Well, it turns out I stepped on some toes. They had an insurance expert who they all worshiped until I came along. And this guy didn't like two of my comments, which were basically in response to questions that other forum users had. I was trying to answer their questions, and I didn't know how to do it without breaking the forum rules. And so they pulled down two of my responses to their forum users, and I was left out in the cold because I asked them, what's the proper way of dealing with this so that I don't violate your rules, and they refused to answer. And so basically, I'm still a member there, but I can't figure out how to help people on that forum without violating their stupid rules. And Mr. Insurance Guru, is all upset with the intrusion of somebody else that knows about insurance. So anyway, I got an email yesterday from a woman who said, "Hey, I want you to help me get my Medicare supplement and my drug plan." And I said, "Well, that's exactly what I do. How did you find me?" And she said, "I saw your book promoted on the Clark Howard website." And so I went out and bought it, and I found out that everything that was said about it is true. It was a fantastic effort that helped me out a lot. So I don't know how to go back and use their site without these people throwing me off again, deleting my entries. But I wanted to thank Clarence for telling me about it. And if anybody can figure out a way that I can avail myself of Clark Howard's website to help people that need help with Medicare, then I sure would appreciate it, because I think it worked for this one lady. I'm able to help her, and I'm hoping that other people will come my way because of that Clark Howard thing. I may have mentioned that I have chocolate milk all over my paper, very noisy, so I apologize for the ambient noises that you're hearing. Here's another chocolate milk soaked article that I printed up. the small share of employers that offer retiree health benefits are increasingly turning to Medicare Advantage. Now, we keep hearing that Medicare Advantage plans are taking up a larger and larger percentage of people who are going on to Medicare. In other words, when you go on to Medicare, you have your choice of either getting a Medicare supplement plan, which is what I sell. That's what I recommend, and that's what I sell to my clients. Or you can get a Medicare Advantage plan, which takes away Medicare and substitutes the insurance company's plan in its place. And the population of Medicare Advantage enrollees has been growing, and it's almost 50% of all the people going on to Medicare now. It's very close to 50%. And I've been wondering why, because it can't be explained entirely by Joe Namath sitting there talking to a bunch of people about their dental benefits and their rides to the doctors and their free lunches and all that stuff. There had to be something else at work. And here it is. The small share of employers who offer retiree health benefits are offering Medicare Advantage plans. And why is that? Because the government pays for them. The companies have offered retiree coverage to their employees as a benefit, as a like a golden handcuff, or like a way of thanking them for their service. Well, then they turn around and they suck the money for this retirement benefit out of the Treasury. The government is paying for this Medicare Advantage thing. What they do is, if an insurance company says, I have a Medicare Advantage plan, it meets all of your criteria, which are kind of loosey-goosey, by the way, and we want to start enrolling people, the government says, all right, we'll give you a capitation. We'll give you a dollar figure per month per member. And so an employer that has a bunch of retirees and he's sick of paying the premiums for retiree health insurance can go to the government or go to this insurance company and say, would you like to cover all of my retirees? And they can try to force their retirees into Medicare Advantage plans. And I think that accounts probably for some measure of the increased percentage of Medicare Advantage enrollees over and above the Medicare supplement people. And frankly, the Medicare supplement people, I keep beating on this drum because Medicare supplement is a far superior coverage for anybody that's on Medicare if they give up the opportunity for Medicare supplement by going to Medicare Advantage instead, because they're lured by all the fancy schmancy promises and the shiny baubles and the empty promises. They're going to lose, if they stay on long enough, they're going to lose the opportunity to go back to Medicare supplement. And Medicare supplement is the coverage that allows them freedom of choice. Medicare Advantage is the coverage that makes the insurance company bean counters in charge of the treatment, very often, of the Medicare Advantage member. So I would say, think carefully before you make that phone call to Joe Namath or William Devane or any of those TV commercials, because once they lure you in, and I talked to a guy who actually made one of those calls just to see what it was like. He is an old friend of mine, and he knows that Medicare Advantage is not the way to go, but he wanted to see what would happen if he dialed the phone. So he had a couple of cocktails and gave it a try one night when he was sitting there watching TV. And he said it was the hardest sell. He said they just pounded on him. He finally said, I am sorry, but I'm a Medicare agent. I'm an expert, a specialist in Medicare. I wouldn't buy your Medicare Advantage plans if my life depended on it. And the guy hung up on him. So it was not a friendly, happy phone call. So let's see, the paragraphs in this article that I highlighted, the shift to Medicare Advantage has implications for retirees. Now think about this if you're trying to decide between Medicare Advantage and Medicare Supplement. On the one hand, this approach may help retirees if it enables employers to maintain or even broaden retiree health benefits rather than scale back or even terminate coverage. On the other hand, it has the potential to restrict retirees' access to doctors and hospitals for Medicare-covered services. depending on the plan's provider network, and subject retirees to utilization management tools, such as prior authorization that may limit access to Medicare-covered services. The rising number of large employers choosing Medicare Advantage for their Medicare-eligible retirees also has implications for federal spending because, and this is underlined, Medicare spends more per person for enrollees in Medicare Advantage plans, including group plans, than for beneficiaries covered by traditional Medicare, and the implication there is Medicare supplement plans as well. So that tells me that the government is making a huge mistake when they subsidize and promote the sale of Medicare Advantage plans. And we are doing a disservice to the economy by allowing that to continue. So I just wanted to share that with you. Here in my pile of chocolate milk stained paperwork is a question from Dominic Regina. Now, I threw this in here because I thought his contribution might be helpful, so let's see what he has to say. It's right before Thanksgiving. He wrote, greetings from the land. No, I wrote, greetings from the land of fruits and nuts. Where's Dominic's? Okay. On Wednesday, November 23rd, he wrote, hey, Doug, I am currently looking to retire on June 1st. When I file for Medicare Part B, I was looking to submit the IRMAA form SSA-44 at the same time, since my income will be lower when compared to my 2021 modified adjusted gross income. Now, IRMAA is the penalty, the success penalty that the government will charge if your income 2 years prior has been over a certain limit. It's called income-related Medicare monthly adjustment amount. Income-related monthly adjustment amount. It's IRMAA. And the form that he's talking about here, SSA-44, is the form that allows you to tell the federal government that you shouldn't have to pay the full IRMAA that your tax return would indicate because you've had a life change, like maybe retiring, stopping work, dropping your income drastically. You've had a life change that will remove the high income and then remove the need for the penalty. So he's wondering, do I need to wait for the first IRMAA assessment before filing that form? Or can I submit the form SSA-44 at the same time as I apply for Part B? The form instructions included the following statement that prompted my question. Here's the statement that's on that form. The form is like 12 pages long. It's really a nightmare. And I sit down with a couple of stiff drinks in order to plow through all the fine print. The statement there is the life-changing event date must be in the same year or an earlier year than the tax year you ask us to use to decide your income-related premium adjustment. So Dominic says, let me know if I'm thinking about this correctly. And I feel good that Dominic asked me these things rather than his brother, who is an attorney. And Dominic said, P.S., have a great Thanksgiving and enjoy your visit with the McMillan clan. So he was listening carefully when I was announcing my Thanksgiving plans. So I said to Dominic, greetings from the land of fruits and nuts. The page 1 illustration or instructions on the SSA-44 I saw, and this is the 12-2021 revision. Those instructions stated that you should file the form when you have been informed that there will be an IRMAA surcharge assessed on your Part B and or Part D premium. And then I went on to say, this doesn't mean you shouldn't request an opinion if you have an opportunity to do so during your Part B enrollment. Part B as in boy. Many enrollees wind up having contact with an actual person at the government, at the Social Security Administration. That's the department of the government that oversees Medicare. So many enrollees wind up having contact with an actual person. So if that happens to you, I would ask for their professional opinion as to when to file that form. However, the instructions seem to make it clear that you can procrastinate until their notification of the bad news if you wish. Sorry, I haven't had any direct experience that would inform me as to the best way to file this form. Hope that helped. Have a great Thanksgiving and give my best to Giovanni. And Dominic said, Hey, Doug, thanks for the quick reply. Have a great Thanksgiving as well. So I guess because he didn't complain that my response was acceptable to him, and he probably will get through that just fine by asking the opinion of the government official that he's talking to. So then I've got a paper here, that chocolate milk stained piece of paper referring to that Clark Howard website, and it's clark.com. The Clark Howard community, clark.com, it says here. So anyway, I've already addressed that. So more chocolate milk down the drain. And here is an article that scares me just a little bit because of the strife that it has the potential to create in our normally placid, civilized American society. The headline of this is, "It's not just COVID. Flu and RSV mean masks need to come back." And I violently disagree with this particular author. Frankly, masks were not necessary in the first place. I think we all learned that masks don't do any good. Unless you have one of those surgical N95 masks that seals to your face and makes it an airtight, overwhelming seal. And then you have to carry a tank around with you because you don't want to have your breath even a little bit escape the mask. I'm telling you, this mask thing was only a political ploy to illustrate how the government could force people to dance to their tune. And I'm no dancing monkey. I don't even have monkeypox, which I can't even call monkeypox anymore. I have to call it Mpox because of the World Health Organization. But I swear, this whole thing about masks is ass backwards as far as I'm concerned. This article is just nothing but fear-mongering. It says that surging COVID cases and M95 or Mpox, monkeypox, and then it says masks work. And critically, they don't need to work perfectly to have a positive impact. Well, that's a load of garbage, because I think it was proven in many studies that masks do not work. And many of the other draconian steps that were taken by the overwhelmingly Nazi-like government officials, causing shutdowns, causing bankruptcies, causing all kinds of strife, those were ineffective as well. So I'm telling you right now, no mask for me. I don't care what it takes. They'll have to shoot me down. They'll have to pry my lack of a mask out of my cold, dead fingers. I'm going to have to figure out a better way to say that. Anyway, I'm going to turn it back over to Randy to slam the door on this thing, because I think I've run out of chocolate milk stained documents to read from for a while.
I'm glad you mentioned that it was chocolate milk stains, because when you first drug that out of your drawer, Doug, it sounded like you were shuffling papyrus leaves. So I'm glad that I found out that it was chocolate. So, you know,
if I ever want to create like ancient documents, I'm going to start with brand new paper and then splash chocolate milk all over them, and that's how I'll do it.
That's how the movie studios do it. I've seen it. Speaking of, special effects, you know what movie studios use for snow?
Yes, soap flakes, soap, right? Powdered soap.
Well, might have, but more traditionally they use bleached corn flakes.
How do they bleach the corn flakes, I wonder?
With carcinogenic bleach.
Oh, cool. I could use some of that. I got to tell you, the most effective fake snow scenes in movies I've ever seen is that movie with Jimmy Stewart called It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
And it looks like, I swear to God, I've had to wear an overcoat watching that movie. And then I read that it was filmed in the valley, in the San Fernando Valley in California, in whatever year it was, 1945 or something. And it was during a massive heat wave. It was as hot as it had ever been recorded in the San Fernando Valley while that movie was being filmed. Yet you would swear that those people are freezing to death.
I know. I totally understand your viewpoint there. Well, we need to sign off for today, because we have not overstayed our welcome, but we've used every nickel of our time that we had available. So I need to thank everyone for joining us. Believe me, we have a lot more fun with you than without you. And we always appreciate you spending a little bit of your day listening to the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. Some closing comments I always touch on is Doug loves email because without it, Doug doesn't have any reason to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Even with email, I still don't have a very good reason for getting up then.
So DBJ at MLMmailbag.com is where you want to send your questions and comments. Check out the website, MedicareForTheLazyMan.com. Doug touched on the paperback. We really want you to buy some because we're thinking about putting on a special, buy 6, get 6. And I don't think you can really beat that offer coming into the holiday season. There's also the audio version, the Kindle version. And just for one time, for holiday's sake, find some place to give our podcast the 5-star review, because without it, we are not going to be the top of the heap like we always have been striving to be. So help us out, give us 5 stars, and that'll wake up the algorithms, in terms of how they rank podcasts. But, in the meantime, you have spent, I think what it is, 32 and a half minutes with Doug Jones, the insurance guy from Oklahoma.
Well, thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.